This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
You're listening to Boomer Life on CIL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, and we're joined this hour by friends from the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia. CEO Maria Howard is here, and the conversation is turning towards fundraising for the Society right now over the holidays. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Mario Gregorio. He's our very first guest. Now, Mario is a retired data analyst who arrived in Canada from the Philippines in the mid-1970s. Mario was also diagnosed with vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease in the year 2008. He participated in the Alzheimer's Society of BC's First Link program. He lives alone and independently. Mario is a longtime Alzheimer's advocate and a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Society of BC and other organizations like Tourism Vancouver. So Mario has joined us by the telephone. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Oh, pretty good. I just enjoyed my swimming this morning, and I usually do my 1/2 hour swim in the morning, and then go for a 1 hour walk at Stanley Park.
Oh my gosh, so you're fit and fantastic and ready to share some great information with us.
Great.
Excellent. So what else can you tell us about yourself? Mario, what kind of a guy are you?
Oh, I what do you call this? I studied journalism in the Philippines, and I immigrated to Canada in 1974. And I was diagnosed with vascular dementia sometime in 2008. And prior to this date, I have noticed lapses in my memory. And, for example, I am at a meeting, and in the middle of the conversation, I would forget what I am talking about. So I talked to my GP, and they recommended that I go to the neurologist at the UBC Brain Research Center. And after a series of tests, they did confirm that I do have Alzheimer's and vascular dementia.
So, Mario, can I ask how old you are?
I'm 68 years old.
You are 68 years old. And can you tell us how this has changed your life?
Well, I have so many plans after retiring. Like I plan to travel to different places where that I only read in literature and history and stuff. And I'm quite avid reader of history, especially of about the old English literature. And I thought of going to England and Europe. But then, of course, because of the illness, those plans have been drastically changed because I can no longer travel by myself.
So can you tell us how you first made a connection, Mario, with the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia and maybe a little bit about your introduction to the First Link program?
There is a very wonderful and very caring social worker at the UBC clinic, and I think her name is Amy Freeman. And after meeting my neurologist there, she suggested that I learn as much as I can about the illness, and she directed me to the Alzheimer's Society main office at Willow Street. And from there, I was given lots of reading materials, and the person in charge suggested that I visit the local chapter or support group in Edmonds in Burnaby. And from there, I was directed to a 12-week seminar for the First Link program at Pineview Community Center in Port Coquitlam.
And do you feel that attending this program has helped you?
Well, it was a very important decision, and I was very glad to have attended that program because it was sort of, they tell you about the different types of Alzheimer. And although I have to tell you that during the second meeting, I sort of did a meltdown of some sort because I realized the gravity of the illness, and I was so overwhelmed I have to leave the meeting for about 20 or 30 minutes because I just couldn't help myself. It was more like really I was not by myself kind of thing.
Yes, it could be you were just realizing how serious this was. It was like being hit with a wave.
I call it being suddenly told about my best before date of 7 to 12 years, where vascular dementia is the rate of progression kind of thing. So after that, I think I missed one meeting and then went back to complete the program. So I'm glad I did to complete the program.
That's excellent. So it's obviously helped you to remain very independent. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You live alone, don't you?
Yes, I do live by myself, and I have always lived by myself. And it's more like it's it's a complete change for me because more and more I keep forgetting things.
I understand you have some little notes around your house.
Yes, that is what the first thing I did was to sort of keep little notes to myself, and and
Can you tell us what one of those notes might say?
well, for example, in my living room, in my bedroom, there is a note that would say. Uh, Lock the doors, turn off stove, turn off lights, and in the door in the basement it says, "Do not go downstairs if you're cooking," because once I turn around, it's a short-term memory. That is my main issue is forgetting things as I turn around. So going out in the door, going out of the house, I have a small picture frame with some notes on it that says bus pass, so I don't forget my bus pass. And it says lock the doors. Did you turn off stove and then lock doors and windows?
Oh, my.
Yeah, they're very helpful because you glance at it and you know that those are the necessary things before going out of the house.
So, can we talk a little bit about your efforts of giving back to the community and all the volunteer work that you do and being such an advocate for the Alzheimer's Society?
Okay. After I was diagnosed, I did a lot of speaking engagements and print and radio interviews to publicize the need for dementia awareness in the community. And one time I was invited to be a part of a delegation from the Alzheimer's Society of BC who attended some sort of a luncheon at the Victoria Legislature to speak with MLAs to promote the awareness about Alzheimer's Society. And I was lucky to be invited to join a group of people with dementia, develop a program for the Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I think this was chaired by Dr. Elaine Reinsma. And after that, I was also invited to join as a member of an advisory committee to develop a pamphlet about people living alone with dementia and finding help on their dementia journey. I think this pamphlet is available at the Alzheimer's Society website. I think it's called Frida's Story. And also, I am a part of a steering group with the Alzheimer's Society of BC that includes people living with dementia that give guidance about dementia-friendly communities in the province. I think there's also pamphlets available in the website. And most of the time, I always volunteer for whatever fundraising activities for the Alzheimer's Society, like the Grouse Grind Ascent to Mount Kilimanjaro. And occasionally, I would help in manning information booths like the BMO Marathon, Scotia Run, or whenever they need help about giving out pamphlets or information to the public.
Oh, that's excellent, Mario. You sound like you're very busy, but can you also share with us some of the tips on how you can make this season easier on people that are impacted by dementia and their families as well?
Yeah, it's people who are with dementia, their main difficulty is whenever they go to restaurants or places that they're not familiar with, there's always the anxiety of large groups of people, and sometimes it's very difficult for them to go to restaurants and other places to visit. Yeah, I also try to limit my activities so that I don't get very tired. So it's a good idea to recognize that a person does not have as much stamina as we used to have. And I also keep to my usual routine. I do not plan too many activities in one day, and I make sure that these activities do not intrude in my regular routine. Like on Mondays and Wednesdays, I go for a half an hour swim at the YMCA, followed by a 1 hour walk at the park. And on Thursdays, I go for a 2 hour hike with a group at the Mount Pleasant Community Center. And on Fridays, I also swim at the YMCA for half an hour, and then I go for my Tai Chi class at the Roundhouse Community Center.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate already, Mario. You are one busy guy. As we know that the holidays are often filled with activities and gatherings, there's a lot of family and friends, a lot of hustle and bustle, and sometimes for a person living with dementia, it can be a little overwhelming, as you had mentioned earlier, a lot of noise or being in an unfamiliar place like a restaurant or large groups of people. So I think your tips of limiting those types of activities are very good and something we should all remember. Is there anything else that you would like to share about holiday tips or your Alzheimer's advocacy work?
Yes, with the family gatherings, I usually sit in quiet corners and encourage a few people at a time to chat with me, not more than 2 people, because it's very difficult to follow conversations whenever there are so many people talking. And this year, I decided to try something new. I decided to give away a little bit of money to cover a brunch for 2 of my nephews and nieces, and then encourage them to have coffee in my house afterwards.
I think what Mario shares, which is so wonderful, is the fact that he continues to be really busy and active in his community. And I think that is just a really positive message that with an individual being diagnosed, it doesn't mean that suddenly life stops and there's not an ability to continue to be out and engaging and being social, which Mario does so well. I think the other thing that Mario shares, which is so significant, is that Mario's experience is what the Alzheimer's Society of BC is promoting, which means that in our programs and our services and our education, we really rely on people like Mario to help us understand what is the best way for a community to be to support people who are dealing with dementia. And so we are so appreciative of Mario and sharing his experience in so many different ways so that we can ensure that the programs that we are offering reflect truly on what he needs and what people with dementia need best to support them.
Yes, this is the time of the year to have fun, but we must not forget about the 3 things that make for better health. That is diet, exercise, and mental rejuvenation. So what's those portions? Keep walking and keep reading. Thank you.
Mario Gregorio, oh my gosh, we can learn so much from you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today about living with vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease. You have a very inspirational story. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday.
And you too. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So next up on today's show, we'll get the full scoop on the Investors Group Walk for Alzheimer's in 2016. You're going to want to mark your calendars. It's next on Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.